Hey everybody, welcome to Sports Central. Welcome back to Sports Central. Neal, Duncan alongside Kris Keprios, and that little segment there, little package there was better than my transition to it, but I think people understood what I was trying to say.
We know what we're doing. That's a nice segue into our next guest, but before we do that, we want to thank Harry's Seafood Bar and Grill, of course in downtown Lakeland, as our segment sponsor. Gotta love that New Orleans style food, so thanks to Harry's.
Well, when the Florida Youth Soccer Association relocated their headquarters to Polk County, 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess, it was a great coup for Polk County, bringing that business, bringing all those employees, as well as the number of events that they have, that they host at the Lake Myrtle Sports Park. And one of the main cogs of that machine over there is Cody McGhee. And
wow, nice.
Cody, I thought I'd be nice to him. Cody, welcome to Sports Central, and we appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate being here.
What's new with Florida Youth Soccer Association?
We broke ground in 2010. 2011 was when Florida Youth Soccer jumped over to Lake Myrtle Sports Park, and ever since then it's kind of been acclimating to Lake Myrtle and putting more events there. But I think last year, we included the National President's Cup from US Youth Soccer, which was really cool. It's the first time Florida's had it in probably 10 years.
Let's talk about that event real quick, because that event was national exposure for the Lake Myrtle Sports Park. They had some ties to the Central Florida area, but they used the venue at Lake Myrtle, and you couldn't really ask for better publicity for the park itself and hosting a national event like that.
Yeah, no, it was really exciting. We had bid for actually a couple years down the road, and US Youth had come to us at the last minute saying that, look, we've got an opening. If you want it, let's go. And we were very, very excited. Like I said, it was the first time in 10 years we've had a national event, and we had over 45 teams from all across the nation come to Lake Myrtle, get a taste of Auburndale and Central Florida. And it was just, the fields looked fantastic. The kids had a great time. They spent a lot of time in Auburndale itself and also in some of the surrounding areas, so we were very excited.
And Cody, FYSA, I say you, but FYSA, just fresh off of your general meeting, your annual meeting, talk about some possible changes that came out of that, some events that could be coming down the road.
So our ending event for the year is our annual general meeting, and it's kind of our chance to remind all of our members that we love them. It's a really fantastic event to come in and do workshops, see a big vendor show, that kind of thing. This year was our 39th AGM. Our next year is obviously going to be our 40th, and we're really excited about doing some new things next year. One of those, a very big possibility, is joining with the NSCA, which is the National Soccer Coaches Association of America. And the awesome part to that is our annual general meeting is really centered around kind of the administration side of things for the clubs, getting them ready with all the new rules and regulations that may come up. And we've been light on the coaching side, but adding in the NSCA, who has, this year was their first year doing something in Central Florida in the summer. Combining that, we're really expecting that to be a real powerhouse kind of meeting for soccer in the state.
Well, before we go any further, let's talk about who is Florida Youth Soccer Association. Who are your members? Who are your coaches, your referee? Talk about the organization and the sheer numbers you guys have around the state of Florida.
So Florida Youth Soccer, it's almost a well-kept secret, because we are the association for all of the clubs that are housed in the state. That being said, a lot of, like, if you've got your regular mom and dad who takes their son or daughter to a soccer club, by registering with that soccer club, you are also registering with Florida Youth Soccer. What Florida Youth Soccer does, it provides an atmosphere, whether it's for insurance or tournaments or whether it's competitive or recreation. They provide the backup for those clubs to play on a yearly basis. And our numbers, we're at about 105,000 players total for this past year. We've got about 25,000 coaches, plus or minus 10,000 officials, whether they be referees or staff for those clubs. And I think the club number, we're at about 265 clubs all in the state.
Would it be safe to say that Lake Myrtle, and I keep calling it the epicenter, but it really is, with you guys having your state headquarters there, and you talked about the 15 to 20 events that you bring to Lake Myrtle each year, and that continues to grow. But the boys and girls basketball state finals have been at the Lakeland Center for years and years and years, and everybody wants to get to Lakeland. Is that how it is with soccer in the state of Florida? Everybody wants to get to Lake Myrtle?
Well, I think there are two top complexes in the state, and Lake Myrtle was the first one to really jump up. FYSA was insanely grateful when Polk County and Polk County Tourism and Sports Marketing came to them and said, let's really hit this off and join up. By coming to Lake Myrtle, the first group of kids that came in and played at Lake Myrtle Sports Park were just blown away at the 11 fields, championship-sized fields, gorgeous fields. And every year we've done events that's just getting better and better and better. So it's very much a positive to come play, because by coming to play at Lake Myrtle, you are playing in a pristine complex, and it's at Lake Myrtle, or at Florida Youth Soccer's home fields.
Well, switching gears a little bit, not much though, one of those events coming up, the Florida State Premier League. Talk a little bit about that, what it is, when it will be here.
So the Florida State Premier League is a newer adventure for us. We noticed that as far as U.S. Youth is concerned, which is our national body, they hold Premier Leagues throughout the year, and we wanted to do something very similar to that to help us out with our State Cup. Our State Cup tournament is 4 weeks long, and it's growing over 500 teams. So it's becoming an event that is entirely too big for us to be able to handle without weeding out some of those teams. Now the FSPL allows you to play in a league starting in the fall and going all the way through March. And those teams who do well in that Premier League get a free pass onto State Cup, which is just a Florida event, also gets a free pass into the regional and national events held by U.S. Youth. So it's really an accumulation of the best teams, the best competitive teams that we have in the state.
Talk to us about ODP a little bit as well, because you got an event coming up in October at Lake Myrtle. What is ODP, and what does it mean to Florida Youth Soccer Association?
ODP is the Olympic Development Program, which is really our top players. Those players are playing inside the ODP events, but it's not really a tournament. It's set up for you to train one-on-one with top-notch coaches that are in the state of Florida and beside other top players in the state. If you do well, you get selected to certain teams based on your age, and then you can go play for state teams and then national teams. Most people would know the World Cup and how our national teams move on to the World Cup. Well, a lot of people don't know is that's not the only national team that plays in a World Cup type of tournament. You also have younger than adult players, whether they're 20, 19, 18, 17. They play in a tournament which is very similar to the World Cup. And for you to be able to get to that point, you play in the Olympic Development Program.
So it's a lot like a showcase.
Exactly.
For the players.
It really gives players a one-on-one chance to get mentored by the state's top coaches.
All right, well, we were talking earlier about the complex and how great it was, and we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the city of Auburndale and their role in recruiting Florida Youth Soccer, as well as they own and operate the complex. We all work together to bring events there, but talk a little bit about the city of Auburndale, what they mean to Florida Youth Soccer, and making sure that you guys have the resources you need on hand. The
relationship at Lake Myrtle, with it being with Florida Youth Soccer, Polk County, as well as the city, is just, it's a mecca of great thinkers. So when we have an event coming in, it's not just Florida Youth Soccer who's putting their thoughts to it, it's not just Polk County who's putting their thoughts to it, but it's also the city of Auburndale. They do a fantastic job at maintaining the fields, telling us where and when we should play, and making sure that the fields are as pristine as they can possibly be when our events come in. We have loved the relationship that we have with Polk County as well as the city of Auburndale to make sure that when the players do come in from Florida Youth Soccer and they expect a pristine event, Polk County and the city of Auburndale really push forward to make sure that the fields look the way that the tournament is perceived.
All right. What else coming up on the horizon? We touched on a few, but we know you have events every weekend pretty much probably going on.
Well, you know, thank goodness that the fall is really our slow time when it comes to tournaments, and our staff needs that beyond belief. But the spring coming up will start all over again with Region Cup, State Cup. You've got your President's Cup, which is kind of the championship round for all the Region Cups. But between now and the end of the year, we do have a few FSPL events coming on. This past weekend was the girls' FSPL's opening weekend, which brought in roughly 45 teams. this weekend is the guys' opening weekend, which brings in roughly 50 teams. And then throughout the rest of the year, you'll have sporadic dates where they bring in anywhere between 5 and 35 teams. So, you know, we do have a lot of events coming on, but we're going to slow down.
Well, and we've got a special rec event coming up October 25th, 26th, and 27th, the fall football. The correct term for soccer, right? Football.
Football.
The fall
You
football
have to say it that way, or
festival.
can you say football?
No, football.
It depends if you're talking to American, it's football.
But that's the 25th, 26th, 27th of October, and of course, Public's a big sponsor at the Lake Myrtle Sports Park, and FYSA, the City of Auburndale, and Tourism and Sports Marketing partnering up to put on this recreational event. Talk about what the difference between the rec side of things and the competitive side of things there is with FYSA.
So a normal individual would expect that there would be more competitive players than there would be recreational players, which in fact it's the complete opposite. 70% of our numbers are all recreational players. Now, 9 times out of 10, that is not based off of solely skill of the player. A lot of times, it's based off of the ability for the parents to get the players where they need to go, to be able to pay for the season, whatever it may be. Soccer, as a young player, is a very expensive sport for you to keep going. Mm-hmm. Competitive teams throughout the year travel probably 30 or 35 times every weekend, you know, to go to, or 35 weekends out of the year to go to different tournaments, and that gets insanely costly. Mm-hmm. So where your rec players come in, they play more of an in-house, local kind of setting. So you play, if Club A is next to Club B, Club A and Club B kind of play together. The cool part of this rec tournament that Publix and Polk County is kind of putting on is it gives the chance for recreational players to play a tournament that's not just perceived as we put this together to make you feel good about yourself. It's a legit tournament. The kids are going to have a great time. Publix is doing a phenomenal job at putting that together, and the cost alone is just a performance bond, which means people come in, they play. If they play, they get their money back, and
essentially free if you
exactly.
show up and do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, if you show up, you get your money back. And for rec players, for rec parents in general, that's just a blessing.
It's an opportunity for them to travel to a venue to play, kind of what happens on the competitive side. So you have recreational soccer that feeds into competitive, the better players. Competitive feeds into the Olympic development, and then from there, the sky's the limit, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, our foundation is our rec players, and that's where the competitive teams kind of get their pool of kids that come in. So, you know, it's a very big focus to make sure that rec kids still feel like they're an important part of the game, and allowing them to get somewhat of the feel that a competitive player would normally get as far as traveling and going to a tournament. It's a very big focus for us to make sure that they're enjoying their time with us.
All right. Well, Cody, thank you for your time. We appreciate all that you and the Florida Youth Soccer Association do to bring in that economic impact into Lake Myrtle as well as the rest of the county.
Cool. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you.